what I'm going back to, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that the county is bringing in money and we're not giving anything to the schools. And I'm not here to argue whether or not they should do a study up front or not, but when you're bringing in roughly $17.8 million, last year we brought in $11.3 million. The year before that, I think, was $8.2 million, if I do believe. And over that span of 3 years, roughly $900,000 has gone to the school system in a transfer. If we can't find money in $8 million to fund the schools, and we can't find money, a substantial amount of money in $11.3 million to fund the schools, and we really can't find money in $17.8 million to fund the schools, I'm sorry, I don't think funding the schools is a priority, and I think it should be. They continue to send over requests for more funding. We continue to basically ignore it. I think is a very bad precedent. We're starting to see a little bit of what is going to be happening. And I would say that when the public safety folks came to us and said that we are losing people and we need to do something now, we jumped. We used one-time funding. I voted for that also. And I am against using one-time funding, but it was critical, I felt, at that time to do it. And that is an ongoing cost of $6 million per year in public safety pay increases from 3 years ago. So I think that we need to prioritize it. I think that $8.2 million is a reasonable amount.
And for next year, with our level funding of $132,281,000, the state funding increased by $21.1 million, and new federal funding increased by $24.2 million, for an increase of $43.3 million of taxpayer dollars. I mean, it doesn't. Some people will say it matters where it comes from, and I say it doesn't. So the new operating budget for the proposed year, or next year, that we're currently looking at for the schools is $356 million, and we just approved the $14.6 million carryover. So 356 plus another 14 is $370 million, right? And again, I'm just trying to throw this out that we currently now still have an 8.6 gap, and with that $370 million, it does already include, for all teachers and support staff, a 5% salary increase for everybody. It does include 54 additional FTEs, which is that state mandate part, and it has stipend increases for academics, and it's all in the school's budget. But I just wondered, when I hear some comments at the beginning where we're not giving anything to the schools, I wrote that down as a quote, that we are indeed. I mean, we're giving from the county alone $132 million, from state and federal funding another 43, and we just approved the $14.6 million carryover from last year that wasn't unspent. So now we're talking about additional raises, and I respect all of our teachers. I want them to do well.
The other point I like to make is a lot of that money that comes from the state and the federal, and everybody up here knows this, comes with strings attached. There's strings attached when it comes to the ARPA money. So we get money from the federal government. We can't use it for certain things. We can only use it for other things. So to sit there and say that we got $30 million in new ARPA funding, why don't we just use that for this idea over here or this project over here? We're not allowed to. And so that is the same thing that goes on with the school system and has been talked about up here, for a decade or two or three or however many it's been. The other thing that I'd like to remind the board of, too, is the LCI, the Local Composite Index. So as we grow and our book value of real estate increases, what the state gives us to provide those services that they contribute to is reduced because they assume that we will be picking up the tab. And the last point I'll make is if you take a look in Chesterfield, Henrico, Caroline, Stafford, Fredericksburg, Prince William, and I think Loudoun was the other one I looked at. Everybody's going above and beyond the 5%. So 5% is absolutely wonderful. But when you have other counties that are tacking on top of that, if all we do is 5%, we are now 5% ahead, but whatever they have done behind.
I'm disappointed in the fact that we can justify not being fair in our assessment and how we approach education. You know, everybody gets all upset when we talk about defunding, right? And if we dare not say, we're not going to say defund the police, because we know that that's not what's good for our community. But every indication, and you might not agree with me, and I'm okay with that, but the paperwork and the history doesn't lie. We are showing a trend of defunding our schools.
We're going to have to plan for the future. We're looking at using one-time money. That money, once this modernization scale is set forth by the schools, will become reoccurring money for our future budget cycles. So we've got to plan forward for that. So you can't look at this right here as it's a quick fix and it'll work. It'll get the job done for this budget cycle, but we're going to have to plan ahead of time.
All right. Call the question.
Five yes with Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Ross voting no. Motion passes.